Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 3, Chapter number 9, titled Lord Brahma's Prayers for Creative Energy. Text number 20. Yo vidyayanu pahato api dasarda vritya. Yo vidyayanu pahato api dasarda vritya. Nidram uvaha jatarikrita lokayatraha. Nidram uvaha jatarikrita lokayatraha. Antarjale hi kasipu sparsanukulam. Antarjalehi kasipu sparsanukulam. Bhimormimalini janasya sukham vivrinvan. Bhimormimalini janasya sukham vivrinvan. Yo vidyayanu pahato pidasarda vritya. Nidram uvaha jatarikrita lokayatraha. Antarjalehi kasipu sparsanukulam. Bhimormimalini janasya sukham vivrinvan. Yo vidyayanu pahato pidasarda vritya. Nidram uvaha jatadi krita lokayatraha. Antarjalehi kasipu sparsanukulam. Bhimormimalini janasya sukham vivrinvan. Word for word translation. Ya, one, avidyaya, influenced by nuisance. Anupahataha, without being affected. Api, in spite of. Dasa ardha, 5. Vritya, interaction. Nidram, sleep. Uvaha, accepted. Jatadi, within the abdomen. Krita, doing so. Lokayatraha, maintenance of the different entities. Antajale, within the water of devastation. Ahikasipu, on the snake bed. Sparsa anukulam, happy for the touch. Bhima urmi, violent waves. Malini, chain of. Janasya, of the intelligent person. Sukham, happiness. Vivrinvan, showing. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: My Lord, you accept the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation where there are violent waves, and you enjoy pleasure on the bed of snakes, showing the happiness of your sleep to intelligent persons. At that time, all the universal planets are stationed within your abdomen. Purport: Persons who cannot think of anything beyond the limit of their own power are like frogs in a well, who cannot imagine the length and breadth of the great Pacific Ocean. Such people take it as legendary when they hear that the Supreme Lord is lying on his bed within the great ocean of the universe. They are surprised that one can lie down within water and sleep very happily. But a little intelligence can mitigate this foolish astonishment. There are many living entities within the bed of the ocean who also enjoy the material bodily activities of eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. If such insignificant living entities can enjoy life within the water, why can't the Supreme Lord, who is all-powerful, sleep on the cool body of a serpent and enjoy in the turmoil of violent ocean waves? The distinction of the Lord is that his activities are all transcendental, and he is able to do anything and everything without being deterred by limitations of time and space. He can enjoy his transcendental happiness regardless of material considerations. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksul Mritam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone. So welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So we're continuing on our discussion from chapter 9 of 3rd canto, Lord Brahma's prayers, which is offering to Garbhodaksha Vishnu at the start of creation. And I'll read the translation for today's verse again. So this is another prayer Brahma is offering to Garbhodaksha Vishnu. My Lord, you accept the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation, where there are violent waves, and you enjoy pleasure on the bed of snakes, showing the happiness of your sleep to intelligent persons. At that time, all the universal planets are stationed within your abdomen. So in today's verse and prayer, Lord Brahma, the thing he's focusing on, or the aspect of the Supreme Lord which he's glorifying, is how he's the supreme enjoyer. And particularly he's focusing on or glorifying the transcendental sleep of the Lord. So as you know, Garbhodaksha Vishnu and Mahavishnu, they're lying on Anantashesh, and they're just nicely sleeping on Anantashesh and enjoying Yoga Nidra, enjoying the happiness of sleep. But there's a difference between Krishna's sleep or Vishnu's sleep and our sleep. When we're asleep, we just go completely into ignorance. We're not conscious of our surroundings. We either dream of something, or we just go into complete deep sleep, and we're just completely immersed in ignorance. So that's our sleep. Our sleep is completely in the mode of tamagun. We just completely blank out, and we're unconscious of all of our surroundings. But Krishna, he has a transcendental body, so that body, transcendental body of Krishna, is beyond the three modes of material nature. So although Krishna might be sleeping for not just for a few couple of hours or a few days or months, but for years and years and years, still while Krishna is sleeping, he's enjoying the pleasure of sleeping, but at the same time he's conscious of everything that's happening around. Not for a single moment is he unconscious of what's happening around in the universe or anywhere else. So this is the difference between Krishna's sleep and our sleep. So Krishna's sleep is transcendental. And why does Krishna sleep? Because as we were hearing yesterday, Krishna is Rasaraj. Rasaraj means he's the master of all the rasas. He's the most expert at relishing all the different rasas. So rasa means like a certain type of pleasure or enjoyment. So in sleeping, the activity of sleeping, there's a certain type of rasa that everyone experiences. There's a certain type of pleasure or happiness that sleep gives us. Like whole day we run around, work hard, do this, do that, and then finally at night time when we go to bed, there's a certain type of pleasure, there's a certain type of rasa that everyone experiences. It's nice to just lay down on the bed, close our eyes and just relax. Whole day you are running around here and there, and it's nice to just lay back on the bed, close your eyes, and just slowly go into sleep. Nicely relax, breathe slowly, and then just slowly drift off to sleep. So there's a certain type of pleasure, there's a certain type of rasa that everyone experiences in sleeping. And Krishna being Rasaraj, Krishna being the master of enjoyment, the supreme enjoyer, he also relishes this rasa of sleeping. But unlike our sleeping, we can't, although we like sleeping, we can't just continuously sleep for, 10 hours, 12 hours, 20 hours. There's a limit to how much we can sleep. We're all limited in that sense. And that's what Prabhupada is explaining today in today's purport. That unlike our attempts to enjoy, in Krishna's attempts to enjoy, there is no limitation, Prabhupada is explaining, there's no limitation of time and space. So because Krishna is the supreme controller, time, space, these are all Krishna's energies and he can manipulate them for his enjoyment. So for our enjoyment, although we like sleeping, we like doing so many different activities, but because we're limited by time and space, we can't continuously keep on doing that one activity. Whereas Krishna, because he's the master of time, he can just keep on sleeping for years and years and years and years, thousands and millions of years, he can just keep on sleeping. For us, after some time we get bored or we get tired of sleeping, we have to wake up. Even though we might like sleeping, even though we might like just staying in bed, still after a certain point of time we can't handle just staying in bed, we have to get up and do something else. But Krishna, because he's not limited by time and space, he can just for millions and millions of years just continue on sleeping. And unlike us, when Krishna is asleep, he's still simultaneously conscious of everything that's happening around him. It's not that he goes into ignorance, but he is still simultaneously conscious. So in this way, again, we see how Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And how is he the supreme enjoyer? Because he's the supreme controller. Because time, space, these are all his energies. He can manipulate these things for his supreme enjoyment. And Prabhupada is saying that some frog-like living entities, they can't believe this, that how is it God can just lie down on a bed of snakes at the bottom of the universe, on an ocean which was created by his own sweat? This is like completely unbelievable for frog-like living entities. Firstly, to conceive of half the universe just being covered by water, and then when you ask the question, where did this water come from? And then someone tells you, this water just came out of one person's body. This whole ocean of water, which is 4 billion miles wide, all that water that has filled up half the universe is just the sweat of one particular personality. So again, this is something so, beyond our conception. But that's actually what the Shastras explain, that Garbhodaksha Vishnu, he enters into each universe, and then from his transcendental sweat, he fills up half the universe with water. So the whole Garbhodaksha ocean is just the transcendental sweat or perspiration of Vishnu, Garbhodaksha Vishnu. And he lies down on an ocean created by his own sweat. He lies down on an ocean created by his own perspiration. On who? On a bed of snakes. So when ordinary people, like Prabhupada is saying, frog-like people, who can't imagine anything beyond their own mundane experience, when they try and think about this, conceive this, they can't process it in their tiny brains, and they think that this is all myth. This just can't be true. And Prabhupada's explained the purport today. Why is it so hard to believe? Prabhupada is saying, if you just have a little intelligence, if you weren't so narrow-minded, just like a tiny little frog stuck in a well, instead of being narrow-minded like the frog, if you just use a little intelligence, just become a little broad-minded, then one can easily understand this. How? Prabhupada's explaining. We go to the ocean, you see so many different living entities, fishes, sharks, aquatics, so many of them are sleeping in the water. We know that all living entities, the common characteristic of all living entities in this universe is eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So it's not that only those persons on land, they're eating and sleeping, mating and defending, but no, all the aquatics in the ocean, they're also eating, sleeping, mating and defending. So Prabhupada's explaining that there's so many countless living entities in the ocean that are sleeping. So if these insignificant tiny little jivas can sleep in the water why can't Krishna sleep on the water? So in this way, Prabhupada, he challenges these frog-like, narrow-minded philosophers or scientists, and he explains that we should just accept these statements of the Shastra as it is, understanding that our understanding or our vision is very limited. One time, Srila Prabhupada, he was giving one class in Los Angeles, and during that class, Prabhupada was giving an example of how in this universe there's a particular type of living entity, like a bird, like an eagle, and this bird or eagle-like living entity is so big that it flies from one planet to another planet. And Prabhupada is explaining that as this bird flies from one planet to another planet, in the course of flying in the sky, it produces an egg, and the egg just hatches in midair, and then a baby bird is produced. So in this way, Prabhupada is giving this example. And Prabhupada is saying these huge, gigantic birds in this universe that fly from one planet to another planet, they eat these big, huge fish like whales, timingala fish, who are so inconceivably big, these big, gigantic birds that fly from one planet to another planet. They eat these huge aquatics in the ocean, like whales. So if you don't mind, if you can just come. I always have to keep looking to that side. So in this way, Prabhupada was explaining this in the class. Then at the end of the lecture, naturally, some devotees, they had this doubt in the mind, like, how can such a bird exist? A bird that flies from one planet to another, a bird that eats whales as its food. This is like very hard to believe. So one devotee, he put up his hand in the class at the end, and he asked Prabhupada, that Prabhupada, like you're talking about this huge eagle that flies from one planet to another, you're talking about this huge eagle that eats whales. How can we believe this? This seems like, like impossible. Like, I don't think like this is possible. Like this one devotee, he was putting forward this doubt. And then what was Prabhupada's response? Prabhupada responded by saying, what do you actually know? Like this, Prabhupada challenged this devotee and challenged the atheistic conception of all of us. So when Prabhupada is saying, what do you actually know? Prabhupada is trying to help us understand that our senses are so limited, the experience that we can get or acquire with our senses is so limited. How much can we actually see with our eyes? How much can we actually perceive through our ears? How much can we actually perceive through our sense of touch? So on and so forth. So in this way, Prabhupada, he broke this doubt of misconception, or this doubt that these devotees had in the Shastras, by pointing out, what is it that actually we know? We don't know, we hardly know anything. We can't even see our own eyebrows. We can't even, so many parts of body we can't even see. We can't even perceive what's going on inside our own body, what to speak of, what's going on in the huge universe. There's so many parts of planet Earth that we still haven't discovered. Like, according to science, according to those scientists who study the ocean, who do research into ocean, they have made the statement that we have how there's so much more to learn about the ocean, and they're saying there's so many things undiscovered in the ocean, and the things which is undiscovered in the ocean can be compared to all the things we have not discovered yet in outer space. So even on the very planet we're living on, planet Earth, there's so many things we have no idea about. What's going on in the ocean, what's happening here, what's happening there. What to speak of our own body, even our own body in which we reside. This body is a machine which we're operating every day. Still we're unaware, we can't perceive what's actually happening, how things are going on inside our own body. So in this way, Prabhupada is helping us understand that we're so limited by our material senses, and how much can we actually know, how much can we actually perceive. So because we're so limited, we have to take knowledge, we have to understand the truth from someone who is unlimited, from someone who's not bound by these limitations. So when the Shastras say, okay, this universe was created like this, we just have to accept it. Even though it seems very far out, again, we have to remember Prabhupada's words. What do we actually know? We're so tiny, we're so insignificant, we don't even know what's going on, we can't even figure out how planet Earth is operating, we can't even figure out how our body is operating. So what to speak of, how to understand how the universe is operating. So we have to take knowledge, we have to take guidance from a higher authority. And we have to not be like the frog, like Prabhupada is saying. The frog in the well, he's trying to calculate the Pacific Ocean based on his own little experience of the well. He's saying, is the ocean twice as big as this well? Is the ocean 3 times as big as this well? Is the ocean 4 times, 10 times? But the ocean is unlimited in comparison to the frog's well. So using the frog's own material intelligence, he can't calculate the length and breadth of the ocean. So for him to understand, he has to just accept the knowledge from a person who has seen the ocean, from a person of high intelligence. So that's what Prabhupada is trying to explain today in today's purport, that these far-out descriptions of universal creation, of how Vishnu is lying down on the waters of devastation, lying on a bed of snakes, the universe, again, it comes from, how is the universe created? It sprouts from the navel of Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So all these things, although it might not make sense to our mature intelligence, we just have to accept it as it is. And another point Prabhupada is explaining is about Krishna's enjoyment, which we were talking about before. How there's a difference between our enjoyment and Krishna's enjoyment. Our enjoyment is limited by time and space, but Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna, he can enjoy his transcendental happiness without any material considerations. So he's never impeded by any material limitation, time, space, so on and so forth. Whatever he wants to do, he has the potency of Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he wants, it happens. If he just simply thinks, I want to enjoy like this, if he simply desires something, immediately that desire of his is fulfilled by his innumerable energies. So we can talk a bit about this, of how Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Just like we see in, I was thinking about this, like in Olympics, we have so many different sports and competitions, right, between different personalities in different areas of competition. Like you have long jump, high jump, discus, javelin. Then there is running, there is swimming, and there's even boxing, and sometimes they have karate and some kind of fighting sports also. So like this, in our ordinary mundane affairs, we see so many different competitions in sports and Olympics. And in these sports, we'll only see certain individuals, they'll only specify in one particular field of expertise. Like someone will only specialize in running. Like Usain Bolt, okay, he'll be expert or he'll be champion in 50-meter running, 100-meter running, 200-meter, max, okay, maybe 400-meter, but he won't be able to be, the champion in long distance, or he won't be able to be the champion in discus or boxing or wrestling, so on and so forth. So in general, we see for us living entities, we might show some inconceivable act of, potency in one particular field, either running, swimming, boxing, fighting, so on and so forth. But Krishna, when we read Krishna book, we see that he shows inconceivable expertise in all the different fields of sports, of fighting, running, so on and so forth. Just like in Radha Maharaj, in one lecture, he was explaining that when Krishna, he goes to Mathura, he displays the original, we see the original display of martial arts when Krishna, he goes to Mathura. How so? Maharaj explains that when the washerman is there, Krishna asks him, can you please, give me and Balaram some nice clothes so we can go and, tour the city of Mathura? And then this washerman immediately chastises Krishna and Balaram, saying, how can you, have the audacity to ask for these clothes which belong to the king? You're just random cowherd boys coming to the city. Who do you think you guys are, asking for the king's clothes? Like this, the washerman denies. Then how does Krishna respond? He immediately kills this washerman. How? He doesn't use his Sudarshana chakra, he doesn't get a sword and cut him off. No. It's explained in Krishna book that Krishna, he just using his hand, he just chops up his head. So Radha Maharaj was explaining in a nice lecture that this was the original karate chop in the history of the universe. So Krishna is displaying the martial arts of karate. Just with a karate chop, he was able to chop off this washerman's hand. And then later on, in Mathura Leela, we see, then Krishna, he displays the art of wrestling with Chanura, Mustika, even with the elephant, Kuvalayapid. Krishna is showing the supreme art of wrestling. And then finally, when it's Kamsa's turn, how does Krishna kill Kamsa? By boxing. Krishna, he grabs Kamsa by the hair, throws him onto the middle of the arena, jumps on top of his chest, and Krishna, he boxes Kamsa to death. So in this way, Radhanath Maharaj is explaining that in Mathura Lila, Krishna, he displays the original arts of fighting. He displays the art of karate, he displays the art of boxing, he displays the art of wrestling. So ordinary, as we were explaining, in Olympics or sports, a particular jiva or living entity, he will be empowered by Krishna to display some expertise in a very narrow field, like either in boxing or karate, wrestling, but you won't see someone being champion in all three. You won't see someone being very good at wrestling, boxing, karate, and all the different fields. Okay, someone might be some, very rare human being born, very rarely who's expert in all the different types of fighting. He might be expert in karate, boxing, wrestling, he's just like very good at fighting. But that person will be, you won't see that same person showing expertise in other fields like dancing or singing, for example. But Krishna, not only is he showing expertise in all the different forms of fighting, but at the same time, simultaneously, he's the most expert musician. Simultaneously, he's the most expert dancer also. Just like we see Krishna's dancing abilities in Kalya Leela. Kalya is there and Krishna is dancing on Kalya's hoods. And Kalya, he has like 1,000 hoods. And generally when someone is dancing, like in dance competitions, the ground will be stable. It's not like they will put them on a certain platform which will be moving and shaking this way and that way. So generally in any dance competition, any dance sports or so on and so forth, the ground and the platform will just be, steady and stable. And then on that stable ground, they'll do different dance moves and show off their dancing abilities. But when Krishna is dancing, he's dancing on a completely unstable environment. There's these thousands of hoods, and each of the hoods are going up and down, trying to bite him. But still, somehow Krishna, he manages to dance so eloquently in line with the music being played by the different Gandharvas. So it's explained when Krishna was dancing on the hoods of Kalya, all the different Gandharvas, Charanas, they all came and they were playing their music, the beautiful music, different musical instruments like mridangas, kartals, and they were singing beautiful songs. And Krishna, to please his devotees, the demigods, he was dancing in time with the music being played by all the demigods. And all this he was able to do on a completely unstable platform. And not only is the platform on which Krishna is dancing on unstable, but that platform is alive and that platform is trying to kill him. That platform is trying to bite him, poison him, spit fire at him. But still somehow Krishna, inconceivably, he is able to dance in tune with the Gandharvas on a platform which is completely unstable, on a platform which is alive, on a platform which is actually a demon, trying to bite him, poison him, spit fire at him. So again, when we think about it, it's completely inconceivable, Krishna's dancing expertise. So not only is Krishna expert in karate, boxing, wrestling, but at the same time, he is also the supreme master of dancing. And also singing is also there. Singing and in producing music. For example, it's given in the chapter of Krishna book, where Krishna is playing his flute. So in that chapter, there's beautiful descriptions given of the effect of Krishna's flute that takes place in all the different residents of Vrindavan. When the cows, they hear Krishna's flute, they immediately freeze. And their ears, they go upright. Their ears go up. And using their upright ears, they start drinking in the nectar of Krishna's flute. And it's given in Bhagavatam that the cows, they made their ears like a vessel, or they made their ears like a pot or like a cup. And using that vessel of their ears, the cows were drinking in the nectar of the sound vibration of Krishna's flute. So we can remember this, that whenever we're in kirtan, we're using our ears as a pot, using our ears as a cup, we should just drink in the transcendental sound vibration of the Maha Mantra while we're in kirtan or while we're chanting japa early in the morning. Using our ears as a cup, we should just, greedily, just like someone is very thirsty and then some, water or some nice drink is there, then they will take 1 glass, 2 glass, 3 glass, very greedily, hungrily, they will just keep drinking continuously, a very nectarian drink. So in the same way, the transcendental sound vibration of Krishna's flute, the transcendental sound vibration of the Maha Mantra, the transcendental sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, they're all non-different. So following in the footsteps of the cows, we should, whenever we're hearing, some harikatha, whenever we're chanting japa, whenever we're singing and dancing in kirtan, we can remember this, that using our ears, just like the cows of Vrindavan, we should just drink in the nectar of the transcendental sound vibration which is coming from Krishna. So this was the effect given of the Krishna's flute on the cows of Vrindavan. Similar effect is given when devotees, they come to take darshan of Krishna. Again, in the Bhagavatam it's explained that when the Brajavasis or devotees, they will come and they take darshan of Krishna using their eyes, again, using their eyes as vessels or using their eyes as pots or cups, they will just simply drink in the liquid beauty of the Lord. So in the same way, just like when we're in kirtan, in japa, Bhagavatam class, we should drink in the nectar of the sound vibration through our ears. In the same way, Bhagavatam explains, when we come to take darshan of the Lord, we transform our eyes into pots, we transform our eyes into vessels or cups, and using the cup of our eyes, we have to, greedily, hungrily, just like an intoxicated bumblebee, how the intoxicated bumblebee greedily just, collects all the nectar. In the same way, using our eyes as vessels, using our eyes as pots or cups, we should just continuously drink in the nectar of Krishna's beauty when we come to take darshan of the Lord. So this was the effect on the cows of Vrindavan. They were chewing on grass, but immediately when they hear the sound vibration in Krishna's flute, they just freeze and they just focus in on the sound. So same thing we should be doing when we chant japa. Then it's given that all the immovable living entities in Vrindavan, they start displaying symptoms of movement. Like the trees, naturally, in general, they're steady and stable, but when they hear Krishna's flute, they go into ecstasy, they start shivering, and they start giving off nectar, sap from their root, from the trunks. And all movable things, they become stable. Like the Yamuna, which is generally flowing, it becomes frozen, and it hears the nectar of Krishna's flute. The birds, they come and they sit down. They were flying in the sky, but when they hear Krishna's flute, they immediately come, sit down on a branch, and then they close their eyes, and they just simply meditate and just very attentively hear the sound vibration of Krishna's flute. Then it's given the impact of Krishna's flute on the demigods. And the acharyas explain that when the demigods, they hear the musical composition of the beautiful melodies that Krishna is playing on his flute, they're just completely astonished. And the acharyas, I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or one of the other acharyas, they explain that these great demigods like Lord Brahma, Indra, Shiva, who are hearing the sound vibration of Krishna's flute, how they're astonished. When they're hearing this flute, they're trying to, using their intelligence, using their brain power, they're trying to figure out, what particular note Krishna is playing, what particular raga or tune Krishna is playing, what particular melody is playing. Just like those who study music, they study the whole science of music, the different ragas, high pitch, low pitch, different melodies, tunes, and so on and so forth. So the acharyas explain, the most expert personalities in the whole science of music are these demigods, like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, Indra. And the acharyas explain that these great demigods like Indra, Shiva, and Brahma, they have heard all sorts of different types of music by the Gandharvas and Charanas and so on and so forth. Not only have they heard the whole range of different types of music, but they themselves have composed so many different types of music and melodies, tunes, and so on and so forth. But even though these great demigods, they're so expert at the science of music, when they hear the music coming from Krishna's flute, they're just completely astonished, and they're trying to figure out, what tune is he playing, what melody is he playing, how is this, how is he composing the tune, how is he composing the melody. They're trying to figure out using their intelligence, but they can't. They're just completely bewildered. They can't just figure out with their own, with their own brain power. So in this way, Krishna, he completely astonishes even the greatest musicians in the universe, like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, who are said to be the greatest authorities in the science of music. Krishna, he astonishes and he bewilders even the greatest authorities of music, like Indra, Shiva, and Brahma, with the transcendental sound vibration of his flute. So in this way, Krishna, he is the most expert in all the different types of fighting. He is the most expert in the art of dancing, and simultaneously he is the most expert in the science or the art of music. No one can compete with the music that Krishna produces, and also it's given with the singing of Krishna. Similar descriptions are given in 10th Canto Bhagavatam of the wonderful singing of Krishna and the gopis of Vrindavan. How they will sing so many different ragas and tunes. And the acharyas explain how there's like 16,000 different ragas, and of them there's this many prominent, and how Krishna and the gopis, they will sing different tunes in different ragas, different melodies, and they will dance, like during the rasa dance, they will dance and sing simultaneously, and they will do both things. They will sing different tunes and melodies, and at the same time they will dance to match the particular melody. They will dance to also match the particular theme of the song. For example, I don't have so much knowledge of this, but I know in India there's certain types of dance, like in Orissa and other parts of India, where the Matajis, they will do these mudras, like different, those symbols using their fingers. And different mudras they do with their fingers, they represent a particular thing, a particular emotion or a particular aspect. And so when these Matajis in Orissa and other parts of India, like Orisian dance and so on, when they do all these intricate dance moves with their fingers, like these mudras, they all mean a certain thing. And like this, they will act out a whole pastime of Krishna Leela or, avatar of Vishnu and so on and so forth. So it's given that during the rasa dance, Krishna and the gopis, they were so expert in the science of singing and dancing, in the science of music, that simultaneously they'll be dancing intensely, and while dancing, they'll be dancing in tune to the melody and the different ragas they're singing, and also simultaneously they'll be singing beautiful songs glorifying the moon, like the rasa dance took place during the full moon of the autumn season, which I think is tomorrow, right? Oh, I'm not sure if that's the same as the rasa dance took place, but they're singing these beautiful songs glorifying the atmosphere of Vrindavan, the glorifying the moon and the beauty of the lotuses and so on and so forth. Then it's given that while they're singing and dancing in tune, and they're composing these beautiful songs of poetry, while they're composing these songs and dancing, also simultaneously with their fingers, they're doing these different mudras also, all simultaneously, it's all going on. So again, when we think about it, it's inconceivable. How can one person simultaneously do all these things, simultaneously just on top of his head, compose beautiful songs of poetry, sing different tunes and melodies, ragas very beautifully, and dance at the same time simultaneously, and while dancing intensely and singing and dancing intensely, do all these intricate mudras, with the fingers to match the theme of the songs they're composing. So like this, if we contemplate, you can just understand, how the Vrajavasis, how Krishna, they're so expert. Like we think, we watch something on TV of some guy dancing or some guy, doing some hip-hop dance, some guy composing some rap music or some person singing nicely. That's nowhere in comparison to what's going on in the spiritual. That's nowhere in comparison to the music being produced by Krishna or to the dancing of Krishna and the Vrajavasis of Vrindavan. So similar descriptions are given also of Krishna's singing. How Krishna's singing also astonishes, the singing of Krishna and the gopis also astonishes all the demigods that are coming in the airplanes and watching the rasa dance and watching Krishna's pastimes with the gopis. So in this way, Krishna is most expert at all the different arts of fighting, singing, dancing, and other things we can think. I was thinking of also like in Olympics, we have this sport of discus, right? You hold some big heavy metal thing and then you spin around and then, with great endeavor you throw the thing. And the further you can throw, the greater you are, you get a medal. So same thing Krishna, he does, right? In Krishna book, remember Dhenukasura? That's how, and his ass-shaped friends, that's how they're killed by Krishna and Balram. So just like, these Olympians, they spin around and then they throw the discus high in the sky. In the same way, Krishna and Balram, they killed Dhenukasura and his ass-like friends. And it's given that not using two hands, like generally when you grab something and you're spinning something around, you will use both hands, and you would, using both hands for stability, you'll spin it around and throw it into the sky. But it's given that when Balram, he is killing Dhenukasura, he catches Dhenukasura just with one hand. If someone is coming at you with intense force and you want to stop him, naturally you use both hands to stop that person. You use both hands to defend yourself and catch that person. But Balram, he's so expert as Dhenukasura is charging at him with so much force and turning around and trying to kick Balram in the chest with his hind legs. It's given Balram, he was so cool and composed. Instead of using two hands, he just used one hand. Just with one hand, he was somehow able to just grab Dhenukasura by his legs, and just with one hand, he twirled him around and threw him into the trees. And it's given the force by which Krishna and Balram were throwing these ass-like demons was so great that it seemed like a hurricane was going on in the forest of Vrindavan. And all these trees were just falling down, being hit by all these demons. So there again we see another inconceivable display of Krishna's potency in being expert in all the different arts. Martial arts, fighting, throwing, boxing, singing, dancing, so on and so forth. And another example in relation to what Prabhupada is saying here, how Krishna, he is not limited by time and space. For example, in the Rasa Leela, it's given at the end of the chapter, Sukadeva Goswami explains that one night that Krishna, he spent in the Rasa dance with the gopis, that one night, the time span of that one night, Krishna, he expanded to the night of Lord Brahma. So Brahma's one night is 1,000 Divya Yugas. So each Divya Yuga is 4.32 million years. So 4.32 million years times by 1,000 is 4.32 billion years. So that one night during which Krishna and the gopis did the rasa dance, Krishna, he expanded time. So much so that one night he expanded to the time span of 4.32 billion years. So again, we see that as another example of how Krishna is able to contract and expand time according to his will, according to his desire to enjoy. But even though Krishna was dancing with the gopis for 4.32 billion years in that one night, the gopis still went, satiated with dancing with Krishna. And in the purport to that text I was reading yesterday, the Acharya's Vishnu Chakra Thakur explains that this display of Krishna expanding time and space we see in many different instances. And Vishnu Chakra Thakur, he was giving the example of like Damodar Leela, which is coming, starting from tomorrow, how Krishna, he expanding space, right? His body is like so thin and slender, but still Mother Yasoda, she can't tie him, bind him with the ropes. So that's his extent of Krishna, he playing around with the measurements of space. Another example given by the Acharyas is when Mother Yasoda when she sees the universes in Krishna's mouth. And Vishnu Chakra Thakur is explaining, it's not that Mother Yasoda, she just sees one universe in Krishna's mouth, but she sees multiple universes in that one mouth of Krishna. So just to see one universe, one universe with Garbhodaksha, Vishnu, 14 planetary systems, okay, Brahma's there, this planet system, that planet system. Just to see one universe itself is inconceivable for us, but it's explained by Vishnu Chakra Thakur that Mother Yasoda, when she looked into Krishna's mouth, she saw multiple universes. So that is even more inconceivable to our, how can you see multiple universes in just one mouth? But that again is, Krishna's inconceivable potency. And that's what he showed to Mother Yasoda in his mouth. So again, Krishna is expanding time and space for his pastimes, for his pleasure. And in that purport, the Acharyas, they quote a verse from Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita. And in this verse from the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Rupa Goswami explains that Krishna, the time of Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's devotees, and Krishna's abode. These four things. So Krishna, Krishna's abode, Krishna's devotees, and the time of Krishna's pastimes. All four of these things can do any inconceivable thing, because all four of these things are empowered with inconceivable potencies. So just like we're seeing Krishna doing these inconceivable acts in terms of his pastimes, which we just can't perceive through our mind, in the same way, the abode of Krishna, Goloka Dham, in the same way, being empowered with inconceivable potencies, Goloka Dham can also do anything and everything it likes. Just like Krishna with his inconceivable potencies can do anything is possible for Krishna. In the same way, Rupa Goswami explains, Krishna's abode with the inconceivable potencies can do anything and everything, which means Vrindavan can also expand and contract and produce different things for Krishna's enjoyment, being empowered by that potency. And the same way Krishna's devotees also. Rupa Goswami explained, just like nothing is impossible for Krishna because Krishna has inconceivable potencies, the same way Krishna, he empowers his devotees also with inconceivable potencies, so his devotees can also do anything and everything. And we're hearing this recently from Guru Maharaj's lectures. He was quoting from Brihad Bhagavatamrita of how Gopa Kumar, he is going slowly, through all the different lokas, higher and higher. First he is going through, the planetary system of Ayodhya, from Vaikuntha to Ayodhya, Jagannath Puri and so on, Dwarka and so on and so forth. And no matter whichever planetary system he is going to, he sees Narad Muni there. So after some time he asked Narad Muni, how is it that you are present everywhere? In this loka you're there, in that loka you're there, in this loka you're there. How is it that you can simultaneously be in every single planetary system at the same time? So then Narad Muni, he answers by explaining the same thing. That Krishna, for some of his devotees, he empowers them with inconceivable potencies, so they can also do inconceivable acts like this, and they can also simultaneously be present in many different places at once. So in this way, Krishna's abode, Krishna's devotees, and also it's given as a fourth by Rupa Goswami, the time of Krishna's pastimes. All four of these different things, they have inconceivable potencies, and nothing is impossible for all four of these different things. So in this way, the Acharyas help us understand these amazing, wonderful, inconceivable pastimes of Krishna. Another example is of Govardhan Leela. Like it's given by the Acharyas, when Krishna, he takes the residents of Vrindavan under Govardhan hill. Actually, the Acharyas explain that Govardhan is just a medium-sized hill. Govardhan is actually not so huge and big. It's just a medium-sized hill. And actually, in terms of time, in terms of space, like material space, the space under Govardhan hill wasn't actually enough for all the residents of Vrindavan and all the cows. So actually, because Govardhan hill was a medium-sized hill, there wasn't enough space for all the Vrajavasis to go underneath. So, what does Krishna do? With the touch of Krishna's transcendental body, Govardhan, it expands itself to assume a size by which it can accommodate all the Vrajavasis. So again, we see an instance of space expansion in Krishna's pastimes. And also, it's mentioned that all the Vrajavasis and the cows, they go underneath, but what about all the wild animals? All the deers, the tigers, the insects, the bugs, the birds, the elephants. They don't go under the hill. They're still out there on top of Govardhan hill. What happens to them? Were they protected by Krishna, or did they all just get washed away in the torrential rain and the thunderbolts coming from from Indra, sorry. So again, in the Acharyas explained that, Govardhan going into ecstasy, being touched by Krishna, whatever thunderbolt was coming upon Govardhan hill, Govardhan, he just felt those thunderbolts just to be as an offering of lotus flowers. Just like someone just throws flowers upon someone, Govardhan, he was just feeling all these huge thunderbolts and these pillars of rain as just to be an offering of flowers. In the same way, all the animals of Vrindavan, they were protected from the rains. It's even given that before the rain could hit the ground of Vrindavan, Krishna, using his energies, he would just evaporate the water. So just before these huge pillars of rain and hail would come and hit the ground of Vrindavan, Krishna would just evaporate the water. So in this way, the whole of Vrindavan was able to stay dry. So like this, so many inconceivable things are being performed in Vrindavan by Krishna himself, by Krishna's devotees, and also by Krishna's abode in Vrindavan. And one pastime I was reading recently of Prabhupada, and Rameshwar Prabhu, he was sharing this, about how Prabhupada, it's not that Prabhupada was only expert in spiritual matters, but also Prabhupada was so expert in so many mundane affairs. And Rameshwar Prabhu, he was sharing the example of Prabhupada's expertise in the science of medicine. And some instances he was sharing how he was completely inconceivable about Prabhupada's knowledge and his ability ability in the science of medicine. So one particular, or two pastimes he was sharing, is of he himself in LA, how he had just come back from India and he had picked up jaundice and something else, and he was like so sick, his whole body was yellow, and for a long time he was just sick and he wasn't getting cured. And the devotees, they had put him in touch with a Indian doctor who was part of the congregation in New Vrindavan. So he was taking guidance from this Indian doctor who was part of the congregation, and this doctor had given him medicine, and this doctor had given him a strict diet to follow. So when Prabhupada he came to LA, he immediately called for Rameshwara, asked him what's happening, how's your health. Rameshwara Prabhu explained everything. Then Prabhupada immediately, as a loving parent, started inquiring, so what medicine did the doctor give you? What diet did the doctor give you? And Prabhupada patiently hears, and after hearing everything, Prabhupada just openly tells Rameshwara Prabhu that this doctor is a bogus rascal. Whatever medicine this doctor has given you is completely wrong. Whatever diet this doctor has given you is completely wrong. This doctor is a bogus rascal. Immediately stop listening to him. Immediately give up whatever medicine and diet he's giving you and stop doing all this. And Prabhupada, he himself comes up with a different diet for Rameshwara Prabhu. He himself diagnoses Rameshwara Prabhu. Okay, so this is your problem. From now on, you follow this diet. I'm going to give you a diet. You follow this strictly. You take this medicine. And Prabhupada, he himself gives him a particular diet, and Rameshwara Prabhu follows this. And Rameshwara Prabhu explains, just in 3 days, he immediately becomes cured, and he's just back to normal, just in 3 days, by following the diet that Prabhupada had given him. Another instance, Rameshwara Prabhu is explaining about Prabhupada's, inconceivable knowledge of the potency or in science, in medical science. He was explaining one time, Jadurani Mataji, the famous artist who has drawn so many beautiful pictures for Prabhupada's books. One time she became very, very sick, and no one could figure out what illness or sickness she had. And she was so sick that she couldn't even get up from bed, and she was so sick she couldn't even eat using her own hands. So there was a devotee appointed or assigned to stay with Jadurani Mataji, and there was a devotee assigned to feed her. So another devotee had to take a spoon, pick up the rice and sabji and put it in her mouth. That's how sick she was. She couldn't even move. Whole day she was just lying in bed. If she had to go to bathroom or toilet, they had to carry her to the bathroom in a wheelchair. And she couldn't even eat by herself. There were devotees, they would spoon feed her, every little mouthful of prasad. So that's how sick she was. And no one could figure out what's wrong with her. And again, there was a trusted doctor of the devotees, whom usually they would go to this doctor. All the devotees in the temple, they would go and consult with this doctor. So again, Jadurani Mataji, she goes to this doctor, and the doctor had specified her, again, some medicines to take and some diet to follow. But even though she was following this diet and this medicine, she wasn't getting cured, and no one could understand what's wrong with her. She was just like so sick. When Prabhupada hears about this, again Prabhupada, as a loving father, immediately calls for Jadurani Mataji. And again, she's so sick, she can't walk and move. So devotees, they had to carry her through the wheelchair, then carry her up the stairs with the wheelchair, and then bring her to Prabhupada's room. And then Jadurani Mataji, she got off the wheelchair, and as explained, she was so weak and emaciated by her sickness, she had to literally crawl up to Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, come. And Jadurani, she had to get off her wheelchair, and with great difficulty, she crawled up to Prabhupada. And then finally when she went to Prabhupada, what did Prabhupada do? Prabhupada just took his hand and just put it on her head like that. And Rameshwara Prabhu is explaining that when Prabhupada was putting his hand on Mataji's head, it wasn't like, just like a casual thing just to feel, temperature, is your head hot, like that. When Prabhupada was putting his hand on Mataji's head, it was as if Prabhupada's hand was like some kind of, super technology medical instrument, which you can just put on someone's body and just diagnose whatever's going on in the body. With that intensity, Prabhupada put his hand on Jadurani Mataji's head, and Prabhupada just paused for a few moments. There was just silence. Then Prabhupada took off his hand, and then Prabhupada asked her, what's the doctor telling you to do? What medicine he's given you, and what diet he's asking you to follow? Prabhupada hears, and then again Prabhupada says the same thing, that this doctor you're going to, he's a fake. This doctor you're going to, he's bogus. Immediately stop following what he's doing. And then Prabhupada tells Mataji, don't worry, in 3 days or in just a week's time, you'll be completely normal. Just continue on, just be patient. In 3 days, you'll be normal. And then Mataji leaves. Again, she crawls back with great difficulty to her wheelchair. Then again, the devotees carry her down the stairs in the wheelchair. And as Mataji is going from the temple back to her apartments in another building, as she's going on the street, she's shouting out to the public, to all the people on the street, that this so-called doctor is a fake, this so-called doctor is a fake. Like this, she's shouting out the name of this apparently famous doctor in that area. And then, as predicted by Prabhupada, even though she was so sick for so many weeks, as Prabhupada predicted, in 3 days she was just completely normal. All her sickness was gone. She was able to talk, walk, and do everything just as normal. And Prabhupada, he didn't give her any medicine or nothing. All Prabhupada did was just put his hand on her head and just said, don't worry, just stop following whatever this doctor is telling you to do. And in 3 days you'll be fine. Just be patient. So Rameshwar